What's going on, everybody? So in this video, we're going to be talking about the largest Bitcoin NFT sales. Amazon is launching their own NFT marketplace and the latest news on what's going on in eSports and Web3. Now, before we go ahead and get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So looking at the overall crypto market real quick. So it seems like for the most part over the past few days, everything has been going pretty sideways, right? We see Ethereum over the past month, in that 1.6 to 1.5, so nothing too crazy, which is fine, right? At least it's not crashing. I think people are kind of accumulating their assets when it comes to blue chips. A lot of people are selling their weaker NFTs, or the ones they don't necessarily believe in, or some projects literally stop building during this bear market, right? So I think there's a lot of accumulation going on, especially for the top tier projects. Now, going into the news, the hottest news right now is that Yuga Labs recently had this project called TwelveFold, and essentially it is NFTs inscribed into Bitcoin. So pretty much how it worked was you go on this website and there was a bidding process, meaning that basically if you're the top 288th bidder and above, you are going to win this piece, right? And so basically people put in their bids. They had to wait like 10 or 20 minutes before it showed up because Bitcoin is a lot slower than Ethereum. And then, people will keep bidding and try to, win this thing, right? And of course, people at the top are going to be flexing, they're going to put that 7 Bitcoin bid up there, right? But in the end, the lowest bid on the 288 was going to be 2.2501 Bitcoin. So there's quite a spread between the cheapest person that paid and the person who paid the most expensive price. And of course, people who are paying at the top, you might be thinking like, why did they pay so much? Well, sometimes people have money, they want to flex, right? And a lot of times when it comes to art is a way for people with wealth to show class or status or whatever the case is in order to flex on all the peons out there, right? So that's pretty much what it is. And it was a great success because they raised $16.5 million. And this is one of the larger scale Bitcoin NFT projects. So I'm pretty sure more people will follow suit because, they're just kind of like taking advantage of an opportunity, right? Bitcoin NFTs are hot. People want to get into that, right? And speaking of riding waves, degods is also going to be riding that trend of creating NFTs on Bitcoin. So they say 535 degods on Bitcoin. It's not really clear if they're going to have 535 different assets, similar to how Yuga Labs has like 300 of them, or if they're gonna put 535 on one Bitcoin, right? Because they're basically saying like it's inscribed on, this block in particular. So it's not really clear, but it definitely drives attention. People are talking about it, and in this game, especially when it comes to PFPs specifically, doing these kind of things do drive a lot of attention, and is also a way to generate revenue, right? Because Yuga Labs made $16.5 million selling their Bitcoin NFTs, and how much did it really cost them to pay the artist in-house to create it? Probably not $16 million. Degods are pretty much just taking their PFP and putting it on Bitcoin. So how much does that really cost? Well, whatever the cost they pay for their developers, right? If it does work and they have a strong community that wants to buy it and they want to collect these things, great, that works for them. Another quick thing on degods is actually it seems like they're making a lot of moves. They're hiring quite a bit of people for D Labs, so that's creating products, using the attention from degods and creating products out of that. So kind of interesting that they're hiring like a lot of high level people over there. And then over here they have X degods, which is for people who want to buy 10 or more degods to join this exclusive community and have more feedback. And a degods is not cheap, right? So having 10 of them, you got to have a little money to do that. So it's interesting that they're putting that initiative out there. And again, it's all really an experiment, so who knows if it's going to work or whatever the case is, but just kind of want to bring it to your attention. And if you want to go on their website just to check it out, they kind of have like more information on like this is an exclusive club for people with 10 or more degods, right? Alpha, first class deal flow if you're like a VC or investor, private conversation with the degods leaders. And for a lot of people, this might be worth it for them, right? Having the right information at the right time or being able to invest in the right deal, that can be worth more than 10 degods depending on who you are and what you can invest in terms of your time or the connections you want to build. So definitely interesting indeed. Always good to learn from other projects. All right, now moving into the big boys. So there's a rumor right now that Amazon reportedly is planning to launch their own NFT marketplace next month, right? So again, this is a rumor. They haven't put out an official statement, but a lot of news articles and stuff have been talking about this. And maybe it's part of their marketing strategy because they're like, oh, crypto people love that mysteriousness, right? So maybe that could be a possibility there. So if you think about it, Amazon is pushing really hard when it comes to the whole selling digital assets kind of thing, right? So they sell movies, you can rent them, you can buy them, you can buy songs, books and stuff. So they're already used to selling digital products. So it makes sense that if crypto potentially can become the future and the normal how everyone operates business, it makes sense for Amazon, which is like a huge infrastructure to kind of dominate that game and get into this early, right? And so they say Amazon's going to be starting off with selecting 10 or 15 projects to sell on their marketplace, and that's going to be their entry into the space, supposedly. But it makes sense, right? Because I think if NFTs become normalized, the average person wants to buy it. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a PFP project like an Azuki or a degods or whatever, right? I think there are going to be many different types of NFTs. Like there can be an NFT that's a book, an NFT that's a song that comes with concert ticket, right? So there's many different use cases of NFTs, not just the social club PFP kind of vibes. I can understand them building that infrastructure in order to, maybe nobody knows exactly what the trends will be. We have guesses, but if they have the infrastructure, you know, maybe people who are selling these products might want to go to Amazon because Amazon has a lot of reach, right? Amazon is like one of the top retailers in the entire world right now. So if they captured 1% of their market to buy digital collectibles, and I don't think they would actually get 1% off the bat, but even if they did, that's a lot, right? And if the trend is moving in that direction, eventually they're going to capture more market share just depending on where the demand is. So very smart on Amazon to do it. Even if it doesn't work, it's like they have the money to put in the resources and hire the smartest people to figure it out, right? Even if they don't figure it out, it's worth it for them to try to prevent the other person from figuring it out, right? So definitely smart move from Amazon indeed. Now, quickly, I want to talk about esports real quick. Team Slowman has different teams like League of Legends, Fortnite, CSGO. So they're quite a significant esports team in the scene, right? So they made an announcement where they're partnering with Web3 Gaming using Avalanche. I'm not really aware of any games that really use Avalanche, to be honest, like in a big way at least. I'm sure there are games there, but interesting that they would partner with Avalanche. So the reason why they chose Avalanche specifically, according to this article, is we think a big part of finding success is finding teams that are easy to work with. Well, many teams are easy to work with technically, right? Like Polygon's easy to work with. That's why so many brands use it, right? So interesting. You know, my personal guess is that esports in general is like pretty unprofitable, right? Like there's a lot of like buzz and rumors going on, like people are laying off employees. It's just like a bubble that popped. And so I guess if you're an esports team, you got to start figuring out, like if you want to keep your staff, how is it you're going to make money? And partnering up with crypto companies is one of them, because the crypto companies, you know, the ones that are still alive, some of them have a lot of money, right? And they need more exposure. They need more mainstream adoption to justify the reason why their token even exists. So I think there's a lot of that going on, my guess, right? But hey, who knows? You know, outside looking in, I mean, we'll see how this plays out, right? Like it's worth an effort. You know, esports teams have a large audience, and if Avalanche can capture that audience some way and monetize it, then hey, maybe it's going to win-win for everyone. But one thing I did want to talk about is going to be Faze Clan or Faze Holdings. So if you didn't know, Faze Clans was, or kind of still is, one of the hottest esports content creator company. They basically had this really hot rise. They had a lot of investments from a lot of like top VCs. What they wanted to do with the company was just take it public, right? And I can understand that because again, esports teams, there was definitely a bubble at the time, and most teams are not even teams, like organizations are not very profitable, right? So they basically went public using a SPAC. Now, a SPAC, if you didn't know, is basically like a special vehicle to take a company public that doesn't have to go through all the challenges and hurdles of actually going public. It's kind of like you get a shell company, and then that shell company buys another company, and then because that shell company was clean, you can take that public, and that shell company just happens to own the company that it bought, and that whole thing goes public, right? So it's like a quick way to go public. And you know, there was one time, especially during COVID, where everything was going public, right? And a lot of those projects and companies that went public using a SPAC are down 90%. So for Faze Clan specifically, you kind of see at the peak, each share was worth $17, which was September 2nd, 2022, which was actually not too long ago. And now it's worth 56 cents. That's a big drop. It's almost like an NFT project in terms of like how far that steep drop is. And I think it really is because, you know, it's difficult to make money in esports, right? Definitely there's a lot of speculation going around it. Of course, if you're a trader or if you're someone that is involved in creating SPACs, you can definitely sell your shares on the way up and create a lot of demand and buzz, and then eventually people realize like, hey, how's this company making money again? And then it drops, right? It's very similar to NFT projects if you really think about it. So I'm not saying it's a bad organization. I'm just saying like there's a lot of speculation when it happens, right? Because at one point, you know, this was like more than $500 million in market cap, and now it's like 40 million, right? So, you know, it is what it is. Relating this to NFTs, right? Like a lot of projects that are going to be popping up, they're going to be like, oh, you know, we're an NFT project for esports and stuff like that. Well, first thing you gotta think about is like, are esports companies even profitable? How are they going to make money? So don't fall for the narrative if you don't know the business behind these gaming companies and esports companies, because a lot of them lose money, right? So don't get fooled by that narrative, especially when the NFT project attaches that to it. And I'm not throwing shade to anyone. It's just like, this is common knowledge I think everyone should know, especially if you're buying NFTs related to gaming in some way. And so with that said, that's everything we got to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'm going to see you in the next one.